deep self-trust, knowing of who they are, and really remembering who they are so that they can live out their most authentic, beautiful life. I often help build people's internal wealth. And what I mean by that is knowing who you are, what your values are, your gifts, your inner being. That's what I really help people do. And so I am so grateful to be here with Debbie and Lori today, as the three of us are on a mission to help others feel great in their life. And I'm really, really honored that I get to do this with two incredible women. And Lori, right over to you.
Well, I mean, you can tell if you're listening right now that Debbie and Nicole and I are very excited about this conversation that we're not only having between each other to put out there in the world for other people to listen and learn and watch and experience, but we're also wanting to hear from you during this time. And I'm Lori. I am the founder of the Be Awesome Network, and it's a Facebook community that I started out of a really hard season in my life. I started feeling awesome. I wanted to gather other awesome people, and so to this date, right now, it's almost 26,000 people. It is incredible, and it's my joy to be the founder and host of that network. So I'm super excited that we are starting a podcast because I met Debbie and Nicole through this network, the Be Awesome Network. So let's dive in. We have been talking for over, 6 weeks now. We've had these really great conversations, which is why we wanted to start the shared diary, because it's like we were having these conversations about broadcasting them, but they were so deep and rich. And so we just found a dynamic that we love, and we hope that you love it too. But we're going to start just by talking about trusting ourselves. So maybe you doubt yourself, and maybe you're constantly and every time you think of something, you let it slip away because you don't have the confidence to do it or think it or believe it. Well, I think we're really taught to look outside of ourselves, and I really want us to dig into ourselves, our self-trust today. It's a personality trait that you're born with. It's a muscle you build through action. And both Nicole and Debbie know this. They're nodding their heads if you're listening, because you have to build that up, that self-trust up. And so I would love just to start with a question for all of us to answer. And please answer this in the chat as well. Why did you, each of you, Debbie and Nicole, we always decide on these topics together. Why did you say yes to talking about this today, Debbie?
Well, I love this question. So, Lori, you're just the best at pulling out the stories from us. But when this one was brought forward as a topic, I was like, heck yes, for multiple reasons, because I live this every day. The first one is I am always stretching my self-trust muscle. And then really, when you do that and you take that aligned action, then there's proof that it worked and that you can trust yourself. So the other opposite end of that is that I witness every single day women swirling in the overwhelm, the doubt, the frustration, the fear loop that continues to tell them it isn't possible, and that maybe they're trying to play too big, and maybe their story doesn't matter. And I'm here to call BS on that, because we're here to do big things, and we can only do it if we trust ourselves. So where do you get your answers from? Where do you source that truth? Where do you know that this is the thing? You might get an idea. Some of us are very big on getting downloads and ideas, and some people are waiting for somebody else, like, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. But what if the answer was in the skill of self-trust? And so that's why I'm really excited about this conversation today. And I know, Nicole, you and I have had this conversation multiple times. In fact, we've even got a program that is all focused around self-trust. So why is this one important to you?
Oh boy. So self-trust has shown up in my life a lot, especially, years ago when I did have to build a business or go out in the world and start creating my own financial freedom and my own path forward, I didn't have a lot of self-trust. I really didn't. And I had never really practiced it. I was really good at, following directions and doing what other people thought was right and doing the things that I thought made me a good person and all of those kind of things. I could do those things. But did I really trust me, like what I could do and what was possible for me? And I would say, no, I would say I didn't. And I really, really had to work on that. And so this is a really important one for me, because just like Debbie was saying, so many of us have dreams on our heart, things we want to do, and some of them are big and some of them are small, but they all require self-trust. They all require us to actually believe it is possible for us. And I had to really learn how to build that. And for me, action has, just what Lori was saying, action has been one of my most important steps in building it. But we will talk more about that as time goes along here. But for me, self-trust is a really important topic because I deal with it daily. I don't know about people that are watching this right now, but many times I'm still in that place of questioning and then coming back to the truth, and questioning and coming back to the truth, because we all have decisions to make every day, and some of them are more important than others. And so I thought this topic was so important to discuss, because I would think there's a lot of other people out there dealing with this as well. How about you, Lori? What about for you?
Well, I totally agree with each of what you said, because, I can remember the foundation of my life was really based on people outside of myself giving me affirmation or, encouragement or, approval. And I really kind of learned that. And I don't know if it's a socioeconomic thing or it's just human nature. It just happened. And a lot of that is because I was raised in a great family, but I was in gymnastics most of the time. So I was, being coached by a coach who expected perfection. And so I know we've talked some about trying to fight that perfectionist inside of us. And so self-trust, I really was not confident and not able for a while to make decisions for myself without asking, almost like asking permission, and permission from other people, or, what do you think? And it wasn't until I went on this kind of self-discovery journey a few years ago and came to Florida and toured the beaches and was on my own by myself for literally the first time in my life, that I learned to talk to myself and ask myself those questions. What should I do? What can I do? What do I want to do? Right? So I definitely love this topic because it's a new tool for me, but I'm loving learning about it and growing in this area. So I'm not perfect at it, but I will tell you that, like Debbie and Nicole both said, that action is really the key to start that process. And so I would love it if you guys would drop a yes if you kind of feel the same, that you have struggled with trusting yourself. And any other questions or comments, we welcome that, because this is a shared diary. This is something new and different. Most podcasts are just broadcast out there and don't really have a live element to bring in the audience. So you guys are so important to us and we want to hear from you. So please, please, please comment. Okay, so I want to go into something that is called self-doubt. So I wish I trusted myself more. That really communicates that there is a lot of self-doubt living inside. And I want to ask, can you think of a moment in your life when you knew something deep down but didn't trust yourself enough to act on it? I would love for Debbie and Nicole, if you have a story you could tell or an instance where this was true, I would love to hear it.
The only reason I'm pausing is that there's so many. And so I'm sitting here going, which one do I talk about right now? It's really easy when we get to the place that we didn't even know was possible, but there was kind of a dream, and we get there and we look back and we're like, wow, I could have done this sooner. right? Why did I make it so hard on myself? Why did I not follow this? Because I wrote it in a diary. I wrote it on the blackboard. I did the thing. And so when I say that there's so many times on that, I just seen a movie play of the times that I doubted myself and said, I don't think I'm ready yet. I don't know if that's a good idea yet. I don't want to confuse my audience. I'll just stay in my own lane. And so I am very much a collaborative leader. That's what I stand for. That's what I believe in. But every time that I collaborated with somebody else, I needed to create an opportunity for a through line so people could truly understand, why was I doing that with them? And if it didn't feel like it made sense to the outside world, I had doubt on whether it was right. But everything in my body said, this is your next step. This is the next level. This is you proving that collaborative leadership is not only what you stand for, but what you believe in and what you live. And so honestly, over the last 7 years of me really going full in doing this online business, I can probably think of at least 10 times where I could have done something earlier than I did. Looking back and seeing the results that I'm getting now, but it was self-doubt that said, I don't know if the world's ready for it. I don't know if the partner's ready for it. I don't know if this is the best strategic move. But why did that download come to me if I wasn't ready, if I wasn't meant to take action upon it?
That just got me right at the end. Like, why did the download come in if I wasn't meant to? I think that was so profound, because we get these beautiful ideas and then sometimes they're just shut down almost instantly from that self-doubt, but they were there for a reason. And I love that you just said that, because they're coming to you for a reason. And so when I was thinking of this right now too, for me, like Debbie, so many moments. And when self-doubt got really big for me was when I had to create my life kind of over and the stakes seemed higher. And so when the stakes are higher, right, I think the self-doubt screams louder, because every single decision seems like it's going to be a major decision. Like we're either going to be okay or we're not going to be okay. And I could get in that survival mode so fast. And when I would do that, my whole body would like shake, like my being, right, would shake when I had to make these big decisions. But yet I knew inside that I had to move and try instead of staying still. And that was really the thing that came to me, was like, you can either stay still and do nothing, which for sure it's not going to work out, or you're going to take a chance and you're going to do something. And whether it works out or not, you at least moved. And so I'd have to have this pep talk with myself, like, you can do this, right? You can do this. But I think it's like that, the fear of failure is massive sometimes at certain points in our life, even more. And then that perfectionism that comes in, that like, if I do this wrong, what will they say? And again, it's that survival mode. Like, if I say the wrong thing, will I be disconnected from the people that I need to be connected to? Well, if I make the wrong move, will we not be okay? And I feel those ones so deeply in me. So I've had many moments as time went along. And I think one of the biggest ones have been when I had to make a decision to invest in myself. That was a huge, huge one, because I was like, can I follow through? Can I do the thing I said I was going to do? Now that I've put money on the line and I'm actually saying I'm going to do this, can I follow through? And again, I had to put myself out there to do it and then find out. And once I committed to it, that's when I started to build the trust every time. Yes, you can do this. You keep doing it. And, so Lori, so many moments, and some really like hard ones on the nervous system. I would say for sure. How about for you, Lori? What moments do you remember for you with that?
Well, like Debbie, I feel like there's so many, because it was just ingrained in me to kind of not trust myself and to put my visions outward and not inward. But a big one that keeps popping up in my brain, and I'm going to talk about relationships now. We in the last episode, I talked about having 2 divorces, which is not fun, but it's the reality of the situation. And it was really literally my second marriage. I was in a relationship that was literally sucking the energy out of me because I was trying to please. I was trying to read his mind. I was trying to figure out what is the problem, let's fix this, right? And so instead of trusting myself, and Nicole, you talk about the nervous system, like I literally had, and I've talked about this before, a nervous system crash. Well, I was ignoring myself. I was ignoring the feelings I was feeling, my body, my symptoms I was having, high anxiety, forgetfulness. I mean, it just got worse and worse and worse until finally it just all went away, and I had no other choice but to make the decision to prioritize myself. So for me, self-trust quite literally was a pivotal point in my life, and learning to do that was really hard, but it was almost like I had to learn it or I wasn't going to survive, right? So I wonder if you're listening or watching, have you ever been through a period of time in your life where you weren't trusting yourself and you made that decision not to trust, not to trust, not to trust, and then something that you didn't expect happen and kind of forced you into the corner? So Nicole, I totally identify with you, as this is an important decision. And if I put myself out there, if I invest in myself, if I make this decision to leave, which was very scary, what's going to happen? Am I going to be able to survive on my own? Right. So I totally resonate with both you and Debbie. And I know that we've got some watchers and listeners, and I'm watching the comments. And so thank you, Kathy, for being here from LinkedIn. And we've got some YouTubers and some Facebookers. So guys, we want to hear from you. What are you learning from? Are we jogging anything in you that you are thinking, oh gosh, I remember a time? We would love for you just to chime in and let us know and share this diary with us, right? So I want to ask another question, and it is, where in your life right now are you looking for an outside opinion for a decision you've already made? Because sometimes we make those decisions and we make the move and we take the action, but then we doubt ourselves again, and then we're looking for affirmations from outside. So is that something that, Debbie, you can speak into?
Yeah. Yeah, by chance I can. So I think that, again, I hope that I'm doing this from a healed space where it's more that I'm seeking an advisory board. I have a team of advisors that I kind of a new lens, a new perspective of. I looked at every angle. Am I seeing this from the, in my business, I have a membership, and then I have a mentor program, and then I have a leadership program. And so what lens am I looking through when I'm speaking about an opportunity for each one of those spots? It's the same woman, but she's at a different stage in her life, different readiness. And so I have an advisory board. So I get really, really clear myself. I make sure that it's anchored in my own body and it feels like truth. And then from that empowered state, I go back out to my advisory board and I say, what does this sound like to you? Am I missing something? So it's completely different, because when you shared, I thought, oh God, I could have even talked about that time where, my whole body shut down and I was not listening to myself. And I ran in the cycle of self-doubt, overwhelm, frustration, confusion, exhaustion, right? It's really hard on your nervous system. But I was giving all of my power away, all of it. I couldn't pull my power back into myself, into my own truth, until I had the tools to do that. And so now I have the tools and we can still have blind spots. And so I'm no longer giving away my power, but I am asking from my people, my advisory board that know my mission and my purpose so well, take a look at this and just see if I'm missing something. And now I'm open to learn and to readjust, but not just abandon myself. I no longer abandon myself or say, oh, you were right, I was wrong. There is no right or wrong. There just is awareness. And that's completely changed in me. Nicole, I can't wait to hear from you.
Oh my gosh, yes. As I was listening to you, Debbie, I was like, oh, I can relate to it all so much. And for me, I outsourced everything for many years. Like I had asked as many people as possible on almost every decision I was making. Like, do you think this is right? Should I do this? What do you think? And it was so often that I never even I never even asked myself. Like I really didn't. Like I never went inside and said, what would I love? What would I like? What do I think? I never did that. I would outsource everything. And I think doing that, outsourcing everything, you lose the muscle of intuition and your gut feeling and all of those kind of things. You just seem to lose it. And so I was thinking about where I like to come from now is more often, if I'm going to go look outside of me, if it's coming from a place that I need them to build me up and see me, then there's something not so great inside right now probably my narrative that I'm having inside is probably not so great. If I'm needing everybody to say, yeah, you're really good, you should really do this. Sometimes I feel like I will go to people for that. And then I can look around and be like, oh, I obviously have had some pretty negative self-talk for a little while. But just like Debbie was saying too, is that when it comes from a place of, I just don't know this aspect of something that I'm building or what I would love to do, this is not in my wheelhouse, I need to call in the troops. Like I need to ask people, like, can you help me a little bit here? Can you guide me? What am I, just like Debbie said, what am I not seeing that I might need to see? And there's some people in my life that I'm very grateful that I have that I can ask that. And in fact, I want to bring in one person that also, if she's watching this, Diana Fioravanti, but I remember reading her book and she had in there a practice called your board of directors. And she said there are people outside of your business that you bring in and you have meetings regularly with them monthly so that you can check in with people who can be extremely honest with you, not your cheerleader, but somebody who's going to say, hey, this is the direction I see you going. This is what we could do. This is all the things from a very honest perspective. And so I started bringing that in, and I was so grateful for it because I don't believe we're supposed to do this alone. I do not believe that we're supposed to be these little islands and be like, oh, make every decision on your own. But yet I do believe I had to practice making decisions. So I really did. I had to practice going and doing that. That meant even like the color I would want to paint my office, or, lots of times when I talk to women, like even when they go out for dinner, making your own decisions on what you want to eat instead of asking everybody, what are you having? What are you having before you make your own one, right? Your own order. So I had to practice some of this because I was one of those people that would say, sure, you want that? Sure. That sounds good. Sure. I was never like, oh, but I would like this, or, oh, I would want this. I was so accommodating. And so now I've had to really practice what I would love. And that is a practice to me. That is a practice of doing that. And so I think I feel the same way Debbie does. It's like, is it coming from a place of not enoughness? Or is it coming from a place of like, I just got to fill in some gaps where I can't see things yet? So thank you for that, Debbie, because that really made sense to me too. How about for you, Lori?
Well, I love this because I know this in my mind, like we learn these tools and we're like, yes, yes, yes. And as you're bringing this up, you're reminding me I don't have a board of directors. I don't have one. Well, I mean, other than you guys, Debbie and Nicole, like sometimes we bounce ideas off each other. And yes, that's a good idea. But I love that. That is something that I probably need to implement into my business because it is so important to not doubt yourself and not, take those action steps, but then also, like Nicole said, and like Debbie said, get those outside opinions, and not only opinions, but feedback and wisdom, right? Because we can't know it all. We don't even want to pretend to know it all. So I love that. So I'm going to put that on my to-do list. And then I actually want to acknowledge Lania and Jen Cavender. You guys are both joining us from YouTube. So this is the first time we've had some YouTube participants. So super excited about that. Keep chiming in. Lania says, call in the troops, your advisors, your board. And Jen says, yes, personal board of directors. Yeah, I think it's unanimous. We all agree that should be a part of our lives. Well, and other people call this, my tribe, my girl gang, the people in your life that you really do need to bounce ideas off and can get honest answers back from. I think that's the most important. I don't want just people to say yes to me. I want people to be honest. Is this a good idea? What do you think? So thank you guys. That's so valuable. I love that. And I love that these conversations just, they're not really planned. We have a topic, we have a few questions, but these conversations just start to weave into almost like leadership talks. And I'm learning just as much as you guys who are listening and watching are learning as you're in this room, this diary with us. So thank you for being here. I want to just shift gears. So the first episode, we did kind of a lightning round of questions, which was super fun. And we learned more about each other. We had like preferences, this or that, this or that. So we decided that this might be something we'd bring back and do some this or thatting. So I have a good one. Your gut feeling. Is it because everyone has this different way of communicating and hearing? And Debbie even mentioned this and alluded to this in the beginning and even in episode 2, or episode 1, but is your gut feeling a loud scream? Like maybe Nicole was talking about the nervous system, or is it a quiet whisper? I would love to know. I'll go ahead while you guys think about that. I'll go ahead and answer. So mine is more of like, if I'm a crisis, yes, it's going to be a loud scream. But if I'm chewing on an idea or I'm moving in a certain direction, I get these little nudges, I like to call them. And it's not necessarily super, super specific, but it's like, yes, you're going in the right direction. And so what that helps me do is keep on that track. And then every once in a while, just keep asking, is this right? Is this right for me? And I will be quite honest, this podcast was one of those yeses for me. It was like so natural, so easy, going in this direction. Let's do this. And then like none of us really knew how to do this, guys. I didn't know how to be live on YouTube. I didn't know how to stream it out to Spotify and Apple. So we just learned as we're going. Super imperfect, but super important. So I would love to know from Debbie, what is your way of hearing?
Yeah. So again, I'm probably not giving anybody anything because it's like, it depends. There is definitely the whisper where I actually have to get quiet and listen, right? That's when probably maybe something's been swirling a little bit too long and it has to come in and drop in. And it's like, oh, that was the thing. Okay. But there is definitely a nervous system reaction. My body, I no longer ignore what my body is speaking to me. So there can be a throat closing off, or it's like, oh, interesting, I'm not speaking my truth, or my back can be hurting and it would be like, I don't feel like I am fully supported in this. There's another level to it. There's different things, but normally when it's a yes, it's a heck yes. And so I always say to people, it's a heck yes, a heck no, or a not yet. And a not yet is just, I need a little bit more data. I need a little bit more, maybe the right person hasn't come along, or the tool hasn't come along, or the opportunity is coming. Don't jump in too quick. There's a bigger opportunity than what you think for. So sorry, but my answer is it depends.
I like that because I think it does depend sometimes too on all of us, how we respond. I do have times where I can remember, like I was one time on a phone call with somebody to help with my printer. And this is when I first got a new printer. And literally, I was just starting my business and I was trying to figure this out all by myself. And something went wrong with my printer. And I called this, it was a line that I thought was connected to my printer. And they started to ask me all these questions. And then they would be like, okay, now we're going to transfer you over to this person. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, oh, we can definitely help you. You have to put your credit card in. And they started saying things that I was like, oh my gosh. But instantly my gut was like, like, and I had never put together a printer before. Like, you can just imagine, when you're like starting something out, you're so naive anyways, and you're nervous, and you do not trust yourself 100% because you have no history of trusting yourself on this. And I remember my gut was like, do not. And the kids were coming in and out of the room. I remember it so vividly that I almost threw up, and I was so happy that I said no. Like, I was so happy I hung up. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, because it looked so legit, because it was actually the name of my printer, and it had a 1-800 number, and it showed up as that is who you call for help. But of course, there's so many things out there right now, right? So many. And this was many years ago. And so sometimes it's so loud, and then other times it is not, but I can feel my body tense. Like, my shoulders are up, or like I'm just constantly like snappy at people, or, like I'm not feeling myself. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay, that's when I know something is off. Either my thinking's off or whatever it is. And one thing that's really helped me lately, and I've done it with clients too, is just like putting my hand on my heart and like closing my eyes for a few moments and just actually breathing, and then asking my heart what it knows is true. And for me, I feel like my heart always knows. Like, my heart is like, I feel like it's connected to my soul. And so I slow it down, because I need to slow it down when my mind starts going so rapid. I need to slow it down because I feel like the truth is always here. If I would just sit down and listen a little bit, it is here. And so I do those breaths, and I say, what do I need, and what do I know? And then I get those answers. And I often find those are my most truthful answers of what I need and what I know, because I can get into my head and go too fast. And the slowing down is what actually helps me connect again. And so that's been something I've been practicing quite a bit lately.
Wow. Thank you, Nicole, of reminding us of that. And this is, one of Nicole's areas of genius, is going within and being and doing those things and helping other people dive in and change the chatter and the mindset, and really clearly find who you are and what you want and what you should be doing. So I love the fact that you said slow down, because that really is so important. Because when we're so in a rush and we're rushing our decisions, I find that I make the most mistakes when I'm in a rush, or I'm under pressure, or there's a deadline, or someone wants something fast, and the people pleaser comes out of me, and I'm like, oh, yes, yes, yes. And then there's a mistake, right? I always make mistakes when I'm rushing. So I think that's such a great reminder to slow down. And I will say, Lanya, thank you. My gut brain connection immediately responds to stress with digestive issues. That's always very, very common, right? Digestive issues. And that's the nervous system, right? Just kicking in and responding, and kind of giving your brain like a hello, clue in, this is not right. So I love this topic, and I love the tools that we learn when we just discuss these kind of things, because it's so important to really trust ourselves. And that's what we're trying to learn and grow in today. So, all right, my next question is, once you've decided something, do you, and I know people who are both and or either or, do you sleep on it, or do you act immediately? I'm going to say it depends, but I'm going to say most times if my gut is telling me something, I act immediately, because I know if I don't act on it, it won't get done. So I don't even take the time to write it down. I just do it. And a great example of that is this podcast. Let's just do it. Next week, 2 p.m. Friday, let's do it. And we did it, right? And it worked. It worked. It's not perfect, but it worked. So, Debbie, you want to give us a little insight into, are you going to pick both again?
No, I promise. Well, I don't promise. Anyway, I love just doing it. Like, right there, you're right. If it's a heck yes, you just take action. Now that action might not be the whole thing before I pause and go, oh, there's something else here. So I'm always checking back in, but I definitely take action immediately. If I don't take action immediately, if there's something that stops me, and I'm also aware of all signals and signs. So say I was going to sign up for something or buy this thing, and it was like, oh, I just got to buy it. I got to get it out of my way and get it off my to-do list. And then I go to do it and it's not working. My card doesn't go through, the computer isn't working. I like pause and go, what's here that I'm meant to listen to? And so I recheck in multiple times, but I go with you have to take action to actually get results. And so I think that's probably the biggest. It's not a either both, but it is a recheck in always, because we don't have the full picture when we got the heck yes. So as we take one step, we have to check in again. And there might have been a time when I would have said, oh, I went all in and then it didn't feel right. And so there I'm wrong. I must have failed. I must not have heard myself right. I must not be able to trust myself. You can hear the story, but that's not the truth. That was a heck yes, but maybe the door was only supposed to open and then there was another opportunity once you got inside. So continue to keep checking in to make sure it still feels aligned. And that for me, it's again, Nicole, you guys both said it, is your truth lives here. So if you're rechecking in with your own truth, not just outsourcing your truth, then you're able to pivot and adjust and feel good about it, because it's evolution, not failure or wrong. So hopefully that makes sense. Is that judgment of right, wrong, good, bad, fail, not fail, that just keeps you in a loop.
Yeah, I get that too. I think the same with you, Debbie, and with Lori. I make decisions quite quickly when I'm happy and excited. So when it is like something where I'm like, oh, like I can't wait, this is going to be so amazing, I can do it like so fast. Like it feels like sometimes I'm like, that is just so spontaneous. And sometimes I check in with myself, like, you just said that so fast, like you just signed up or you just did this so fast. And in the back of my head, I can be like, oh, Nicole, just jumping in again. But if I'm happy and excited, that's one of those things, like everything in me says yes. Like I'm like, oh, it feels so good. But what I've really learned about myself, and I'm really, really careful about this now, is if I'm in a place of scarcity or fear, I am really careful about what I say yes to, because many times I've said yes out of the fear, like save me, help me, all of those things. And I'm not kidding. Almost every single time I did that, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, because the intention wasn't correct in there, right? I wasn't resourcing my own resource. I was fully putting it onto whatever I was signing up for, like save me, help me. It wasn't from a place of like, I can do this. And so I think that's one of the things that I continue to remind myself is, am I making this from a place of like, I can do this and I'm really excited? Or am I making this from a place of I am not, like, I need all the help I can get at this point. And that to me is when I need to slow down and just say, whoa, before I say yes, whoa. And I'm learning that as I go along. I'm really trying to check in with my compass on that and where I'm at, because it's important to me. And the other thing, one more thing I was going to say, in the reverse part about trust, is that I believe that the yes for me comes from trust. Like if somebody exudes, like they on the other side make me feel the trust, to make me feel the connection, the relationship, that they've like heard me, seen me, all those things, that's when the yes is even like way more, right? And so I keep thinking about that trust is so important both ways, like that connection, that I trust you, you trust me. And I continue to remember that with people that I'm working with, as that trust bond, because that is so important, that somebody feels safe. If you feel safe, it's way easier to make those decisions and be like, it was a good one. It was a good one.
Wow, thank you, Nicole. That's so true that there is a certain amount of trust that we build with ourselves, but we also need to build that with people. And it really does help. When you trust yourself, you make a decision, you're like, yeah, I got this. When you don't trust yourself, you make a decision, you're like, was that the right decision? I don't know. And that's what gets us into so much trouble. Oh, thank you for that reminder. And I too have been in that spot where, I'm tentative and I go and then I stop and I go and I stop, and it's such a frustrating place to be. So mean what you say what you mean. We are in the year of communication. Thank you, Debbie. And yes, Lonnie, hello. I am sorry. I said Lanya. I'm reading your YouTube name, which is different than your Facebook name. So you're coming to us from a different spot today. I love it. Well, I have another question on this topic just because I want to talk about barriers, because we've talked about, the need to trust ourselves and our journeys in that. But sometimes there's a barrier that's in our lives that we're not necessarily making that progress because there is a barrier. So, what is your biggest barrier? Is it fear of being wrong or fear of being judged? And that's a hard one because I think, there's a lot of a deeper meaning in the being wrong, right? Like you don't have to always be right. You're not a person who needs to be always right, but getting it wrong, that's where perfectionism comes in. And then fear of being judged, that's where you're wanting that approval from others, right? So for me, I'll go ahead and answer. I think I'm more afraid of being judged. And it's really weird because I am confident and I literally do put myself out there. And when I started the Be Awesome Network, I just was like, let's just do this. And then, it grew from 1 to 17,000 in the first year. And now we're up to almost 27,000. And I literally go on there live without makeup. And, I'm just myself and I'm okay with that. But I will say there is one area that I'm really fearful of, and I didn't realize this until I actually looked at this question inside of this conversation we're having right now. And that is, I think I'm afraid of promoting myself. I think when it comes to promoting other people, I am like a rock star at it. I love highlighting other people. I love learning their stories and hearing what they do, and then just telling people, hey, isn't this person awesome? You should connect with them, right? That's kind of my jam. But I don't do it very often. I don't promote myself. I don't put myself out there as far as this is what I have to offer. These are the programs that are within this network. This is who I am. This is what I do. So I think I need to get a little bit better about that. And it is a fear. I'll just have to be honest. What about you, Debbie?
Yeah, well, this is one of those deeper answers again, because I've worked a lot with fear. And what I recognize is that at the root of everything we do, it's either love or fear that's running your bus. And so when you asked me that question, it wasn't about what would stop me, judgment of self or fear of failure. It's deeper than that. Is where does fear hijack my desire for myself and others? And that's that go back into survival mode, go back into that triggered where my nervous system just it can't see the solution. It can't see the answer. It can't hear my higher self. And that is fear of losing a loved one, fear of death, not death of my own, but of a loved one. And also fear of that survival brain where your nervous system is so jacked up that it's like, what if I get to that place again? What if I get so burnt out that I literally fail myself? Like I've abandoned myself. And so I don't believe that fear of judgment very seldom stops me because it's not about me. I've totally flipped that around. It's about the people that I'm here to serve. It's about my divine assignment. It's about me stepping into and trusting that even I don't have all the steps, that I am being led to something much bigger than myself. And I don't believe that it's fear of the other one I think you said is, because I hear different things in my mind, is that fear of failing. If I don't believe there is failure anymore. Now, I would consider a failure is if I abandoned myself. If I literally just did everything to please others and forgot about putting myself in that equation, that I would. But deeper than that, what would that mean? It would mean that my nervous system had just hijacked and now I couldn't make decisions again. So never want to go back there.
Debbie, yes, on all of that. I can relate to so much of what you just said, and that fear of burning out or not listening to our body, or getting to that same place again is so scary. And then of course, like, fear of death too, when we've had experiences in our life that we have impacted us so deeply. And it's so amazing how the mind works and the body and everything, with the journey that we've been on, and the things that the experiences that we've accumulated over time. And for me, fear of judgment used to be, I think fear of judgment was my bigger one years ago. And I felt like fear of failure was higher for me over the last 10 or 11 years because of the stakes again. I just, every single time I think about, like, every decision, and it's so interesting to me because I'll analyze myself here, but I mean, it would come down to even like making a post. I'd get so fearful about my business and how it was going, like people were going to react. There's the judgment a bit, but it's more about the failure. Like, if this business doesn't do what it needs to do, and that's what was in my head all the time, was about the business, and because the stakes were higher for me. And so fear of failure became pretty darn high. And what I love, and what Debbie said, is fear of failure would be like not keeping going and doing the thing that you can do, and like, that would be succumbing to the failure. That would be the failure, right? But it's not, that isn't, like, what I sometimes put in my mind is not necessarily failure. It's the fear of just, not doing the thing I said I was going to do, not showing up the way I was going to show up, being, there. I think of my children all the time, and I think about, like, the example I'm trying to set for them. And that is one of my fears, is that, that they see me not do the things I need to do or be. But at the same time, I come back to, do they need to see me do all the things all the time, or do they need to see me fall down and get back up, and fall down and get back up? And I think that's the part that I have to keep coming back to, is that they get to see me be very real, and that life isn't super easy. And there's been many tears on this side, and but they've also seen me get back up. And I think that's the thing that I want to keep working on always, is the resiliency, coming back time after time. So I have had both fears for sure. And some stand out more in life, depending on your situation. But that's what I want to remember today. As I was speaking to you today, it's the amount of times that you get back up and you keep going.
Love it. Wow. What a great example and a great story, because, as we are going through life, we have relationships with other people. Some of us are moms, some of us are not, but that really resonates with me, with my kids, because, when I made the decision to leave home, my home state of 50 years, and just up and go on an adventure to Florida, and then I made a decision to move here, I was having some guilt feelings, like, I'm leaving everyone, all my friends, all my family, my kids, everyone. Like, I don't know a soul in Florida. What am I doing? But I trusted myself, and I really knew it was right for me. And with the nervous system that we talked about, when I am in Florida and I walk on a beach, or I walk outside and I see the palm trees, it's just instant calm. It's just instant. I know I'm in the right place. I know I'm doing the right thing. So the guilt that we feel sometimes, or the second guessing ourselves that we feel, you're exactly right, Nicole. It is an example to my kids. Do something brave. If you feel like you need to do something, and I too, as a mom, give them permission, right? I'm getting ready to be a grandma, and my son has made the decision. There's no hospital visitors. And I'm like, what? But I'm like, I give you that permission. Make that decision for yourself. That is what's best for you. So, okay, of course, I'm on board, right? So I think it's so important to trust ourselves. And I love this conversation, and it's gone by so fast. We're literally at the end of our time. Oh my goodness. So we just have a few minutes left, but I wanted to just give some resources because we want to also involve you guys in this conversation. And thank you, Lonnie. Fear can cause us to hold our breath. Oh, breath is so important. Getting back up is the thing that came from Sarah. And we also have Aaron chiming in with always wonderful to know we're not alone. So thank you guys for chiming in. This is what this is all about. And this is what we really want, is the interaction with you guys who are listening and watching, whether you're live or you're catching us after and commenting in the comments. This is what we want to do, is create conversations, open our diary and let you fill in some pages, right? So I want to give you some resources, maybe some prompts, some questions to ask yourself. And this is something that we'd like to do every week. It's basically just a series of questions that you can use in your journal, in your diary. So it's and we'll put these in the show notes, don't worry. What's bringing you joy right now? What's challenging you right now? What's inspiring you right now? What's one thing you're grateful for this week? And then what's one small thing you did this week at the end of the week that felt like trusting yourself? So I would love it if you guys would take this conversation, take these questions and ask yourself these questions. Open your diary. I don't have it. Well, yes, I do have it near me, but I'm not going to grab it. I just bought a new diary, guys. So open your diary and answer these questions. It's going to be great. I promise you. So let's just wrap up with one final question. And I would love to know, Debbie, this is our final question of every single episode. And that is basically, what if you could write one sentence at the bottom of today's diary entry, what would it say? Maybe it's, I am strong. Maybe it's I am fearful. Maybe it's I love myself. Maybe it's, what did you learn? What is that sentence? I would love to know that from you, Debbie.
Yeah, well, what instantly dropped in is learn to trust yourself. That's a reminder and it's a requirement. It's learn to trust yourself. And I think we've talked enough about it already, is how do you learn? There is ways of going deeper, understanding what triggers on trust, but there is also that deeper sense of self that we can all choose. And once we know that, nobody else can take you off course. You're anchored, you're safe, you understand there's a bigger mission. And that type of clarity brings a confidence that's unwavering, and you just continue to learn to trust yourself because you see the proof over and over again.
Yeah, that is so good. Learn to trust yourself. I love that so much. For my bottom of my diary, I think, I put, you are doing it. Keep going. You are doing it. Keep going. And I think what, like Debbie was just saying, I need to sometimes go back and remind myself of what I've been able to go through and what I continue to be able to do, so that I have evidence of that trust, evidence that I can trust myself to move through things that are challenging, that are not super easy. And I just have to keep reminding myself to keep going. You're doing it. You're doing it. And we were talking about the action reaffirms our belief in ourselves, right? When we show up for us, when we do the things for us, and we keep our promises to us, we build that self-trust, right? When we say, I'm going to do this for me, and we do it, and then we keep going, and then we look for the evidence and we celebrate the evidence, we remember how powerful we actually are. So that's what I want to say today. A little longer than one sentence.
I love it. Well, it's so important to remind ourselves that we are doing it. So thank you for reminding us, Nicole, because as you say that, we think that in our own lives. And that encourages us to remember that we are doing it. We are showing up. We are, even if it's imperfectly, we're showing up, we're doing it, we're here, and we're having this conversation, and something good is going to come out of it. So I think my reminder or my sentence, my entry, my journal entry, my diary entry would be just a note to myself: don't be afraid. It's just so key that I remind myself, don't be afraid. Because, like Nicole said, look at the history of my life. Look at what, I've gone through. Look what I've made it through. Look at what I've learned. Look at what I've accomplished. And I don't think we give ourselves that pat on the back enough. And so I'm going to tell myself, don't be afraid. I'm going to tell myself, look where you are. You did it, right? And so thank you guys for joining in, and Jen and Lonnie and Aaron and everyone else. It has been so great. Without you, this wouldn't be a shared experience. So with you, it is. So we really appreciate you showing up here where you're watching every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We will be here without fail. There may be 2 of us, not 3, but that's just life, right? So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the Shared Diary, because life is better when the diary is open.